Has this ever happened to you?
Oh man, I really appreciate you reading my screenplay. I'd really appreciate any advice you might give.
Yeah, no problem. Well, first of all, it's gonna need a lot of work, okay? It has major problems with both plot and the main character, so I think...
You!
Pardon me?
What do you know? You're an idiot!
You came to me. You asked for my advice.
Well, I can write better than you!
Not according to this.
Well, I'm not even gonna listen!
Fine, go ahead and fail.
I will!
One really weird thing about screenwriting is that it's possibly the only field in the world where every beginner automatically assumes they know how to do it.
Alright, so I got the screenplay.
Have you even written a screenplay or two?
Oh, I'm working on the screenplay for my movie.
And he was still trying to interest people in that dreadful screenplay.
This is my 700-page screenplay for TED 3!
A lot of folks seem to think that just because they've seen a lot of good movies, they know how to write one themselves. But I always say that's like thinking you could become a gourmet chef just because you've eaten a lot of good meals. You have no idea all that went into creating that experience. But luckily, most people figure out the truth when they actually try to write a screenplay, and they realize, oh wait, this is hard. And I see this all the time when I teach online classes. These were classes that are open to the general public, so you get a lot of, hobbyists, a lot of dilettantes who think, oh, screenwriting, this is gonna be fun. Then the first class comes around, they're like, oh wow, this guy takes this really seriously. And they start to drop out one by one, which I'm totally okay with. If you find screenwriting's not your thing, if you dislike how rule and structure bound it tends to be, if you're not willing to put in the necessary time and effort, better you learn right away from me than after spending 100 hours of your life on a bad screenplay. And what this does is whittle the class down to about 5 or 6 core students. And though these remainers might have zero previous screenwriting experience, these are always the best students. Because they attend every class, they do all the homework assignments, they show that they're genuinely interested in learning the craft and making something out of it. And I really teach for these 5 to 6 students, just like I really make these videos for that 40% of you who actually stick around to the end. I mean, these guys, screw them. Now these 5 to 6 beginners you might call newbies, and when they have the right attitude, newbies can be a joy to teach. But there's a big difference between a newbie
And a noob.
And I want to talk about
The Noobs.
Now, if you've spent any significant time in online screenwriting forums, you'll already know what a noob is. Noobs are those know-nothing know-it-alls who have to turn every discussion toxic. A noob is someone who reads your script just to tear it apart to prove how awesome they are. Noobs are the reasons I no longer read scripts sent to me by people I don't know, a big reason why no one in Hollywood accepts unsolicited screenplays. Noobs are the people who make me sometimes wonder whether it's still worth it to try to teach anyone anything. Bottom line, a noob is what you don't want to be. Now before anyone says, oh, who are you to judge? Let me lay out my credentials. Because I know I'm looking good. Ow. But I've been seriously studying screencraft for going on 20 years. And I've been writing about it in some form or another for 17 years. I mean, look at the gray in my beard. All right? I ain't no spring chicken. And during those 20 years, I've been a production company script reader. I've helped judge screenplay contests. I've worked for feedback services. I graduated the top US film school. I've won screenplay contests. I've worked as a hired screenwriter, which is a whole other different story. I've written for Creative Screenwriting and Movie Maker magazine. I've spoken at conferences and been published in journals. I have published 3 books. I have a master's degree focused in cultural expression and popular narrative. So yeah, I ain't no punk off the streets. And over those 20 years, my patience has grown more and more thin
For the noob.
So what is a noob? A noob is someone who's read 1 or 2 screenwriting books, usually the worst ones, and now thinks they know freaking everything and will never miss a chance to prove it. And as for those 1 or 2 spec scripts they've written, why they are works of such rare and brilliant glory that they will fight anyone who says otherwise. And if you really want to piss off a noob, make a video about how that one book they based all their knowledge off of is actually crap. Ooh, the noobs hate that. Now don't automatically assume I'm talking about you. Let's not get all Carly Simon about this. But if your first impulse was to write an angry comment, you might be a noob. But I know all you guys are cool. You know how I can tell? Because only cool people click the like button. Come on. Don't you want to prove you're cool? But seriously, it never hurts to check yourself, because every writer's prone to some noobish qualities now and again, including myself from 20 years ago. Now, this isn't meant to call anyone stupid or anything, but for some reason, beginning screenwriters are incredibly prone to the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Now, you may have already heard of Dunning-Kruger, and there are already tons of videos about it online, so do a search if you want the gory details. But basically, the Dunning-Kruger effect attempts to explain why so often people with only a minimal amount of experience will tend to massively over-evaluate just how much they know or how awesome they are at that thing.
Michael Jordan, talking about you gonna beat him one-on-one. One-on-one, I'm undefeated, never lost.
And the findings of the Dunning-Kruger study resulted in something that looks like this. People start out thinking they're the shit, only then to crash when they find out this isn't the case. Then, over time, they slowly build confidence again as they gain more and more actual experience, but even as an expert, they never return to the hubris of the original self-delusion. Now, the rational explanation is that when a person first starts out, they have nothing to compare themselves to. All they have is their own ego, so of course they think they're awesome. So you might think you sound like Mariah Carey singing into your bedroom mirror, but you don't know how you stack up against an actual professional.
I need your love.
Likewise, if you just took a freshman course on economics or political science or underwater basket weaving, you might think you're hot shit talking about it at a party. When in fact, from your myopic newbie perspective, you don't know just how huge and complex that field actually is. In other words, you don't know just how much you don't know, when in fact your current store of knowledge is microscopic. But as they say, pride goeth before the fall, because then comes the crash. Once you start to associate with people more experienced than you, or expand your knowledge beyond the basics, or say, I don't know, bomb out of your first 6 screenplay contests, you feel like a damn fool, because you realize you're still a baby in your diapers. And once humbled, that's when true growth can finally begin. Now, I'm willing to wager that every developing screenwriter goes through this rise and crash, probably multiple times. That's their cycle of growth. For me personally, I can say that my entire career, if I can actually call it that, has been a constant series of peaks and valleys. I start climbing a mountain, and as I'm reaching the top, I think I'm pretty awesome. But when I reach the top, I find there's another mountain beyond it that I didn't even know was there. So I start climbing that mountain. And when I reach the top of that one, I find there's 3 more mountains beyond it. And more mountains beyond them, and more mountains beyond them. So now I know that if I live to be 1,000 years old, I will never be the master of my entire field. I have to focus on some mountains, accept only a limited knowledge of others, and completely defer to the expertise of other people on the rest. But then we got some noob, who's only climbed about 20 feet, who thinks he knows more about the mountain than I do. Because going back to Dunning-Kruger, for some reason, it seems that screenwriting noobs reach a much higher peak of arrogance and then stay there for a much longer time. Some of them forever. By the way, if you see anyone getting angry about this down in the comments, those are the noobs. My theory is that this has something to do with the isolation that's inherent in screenwriting. To compare it to something else, I see a lot of parallels between screenwriting and stand-up comedy. See, stand-up is another one of those things that a lot of people see and think, yeah, I could do that. But they don't realize just how much grinding away a professional stand-up has to do to become so good at their craft. But the big difference is that if you're a bad stand-up, you're gonna know right away. You're gonna get booed off the stage.
Destroy him.
See, stand-up comedy gives instant feedback. Not so with the amateur screenwriter. See, a screenwriter works in a little bubble, spending months and months in isolation with no one but themselves to judge their work by. Now, every writer can fall in love with their work in hopes it'll turn to something big. But without proper feedback, the writer can begin to believe their own hype. It's not just good, it's brilliant. It'll win every Oscar. But then the time comes to send it out to the world and they get slapped in the face by cold, hard reality. It's not as good as you think it is. Now, a sensible screenwriter gets their bubble burst to realize, oh, I guess I was wrong. I need to try again and do better. But a noob stays in their little bubble and just gets angry.
Everybody.
All American Idol thing and la 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 la.
The dodo bird is not extinct, it's in there.
So the noob rejects all advice and listens to no one but their own ego. And a noob like that will never succeed. Ever. Because no one ever improves when they think they're already perfect. I've come to realize that if I give advice on a script and the writer gets angry, the best response is just, fine, whatever. Failure is the best teacher. Because there's no point in trying to teach someone who isn't willing to learn.
Teach me.
No.
So how do I avoid being a noob? Well, number one, admit the limitations of your knowledge and experience. How long have you been at it? 1 year? 2 years? 3 years? Talk to any veteran writer and they'll tell you you've only gotten started. Those few spec scripts you've written, those few books you've read are just a drop in a stadium-sized bucket. You got a long way to go, grasshopper, and no one grows until they admit their need to grow. A noob is the type of person who argues with a doctor after spending 10 minutes on WebMD. Maybe you should admit your lack of experience. I remember from somewhere where Akira Kurosawa, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, said he was saddened by the fact that 80% of filmmaking he would never learn. Dude, think about that. After directing 20 feature films, Kurosawa was humbled by how much there was still left to know. So no matter where you are in your development, it behooves you to listen to the words of Socrates, who said he knew he was wise because I know nothing. Number two, don't be harebrained. In my first book, Screenwriting Down to the Atoms, I talk about the tortoise and the hare. Every beginner starts out thinking they're gonna be the hare. All they gotta do is complete 1 or 2 scripts and they're off to fame and fortune. But in this business, victory comes to the tortoise and never the hare. Recognize the 5 to 10 rule. On average, it takes every writer 5 to 10 screenplays before their skills have developed to a professional level. And that's 5 to 10 full scripts with multiple revisions, because there is a natural progression in the development of your skill. In fact, I can pick up a spec script and usually tell if it's the writer's first, second, or third attempt because the greenness shows through. So don't talk a big game until you've completed your 5 to 10. And number 3, don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. If someone criticizes your work, don't be an insecure asshole about it. The flaws are being pointed out so you can learn and improve. Constructive criticism is a gift. Conversely, if someone gives you their script to read, the object is to help them, not inflate your own ego by tearing them down. Likewise, if someone makes a point online that you don't agree with, ask a polite question, because they might know something you don't. Ask where they got that opinion. 20 years ago, there was a thriving community of screenwriting message boards and forums. But every time they just turned toxic from people noobing it up with flame wars. So please, let's be respectful and help each other out. Likewise, if you don't understand or have an objection to something I say in my videos, if you ask a polite question, I'll gladly try to explain things as patiently as I can. Maybe not right away because I usually go a while without checking my comments, but if it's an honest question, I will try to answer. And I know some of you would like it if I talk about things beyond commercial Hollywood-style storytelling, but experience has taught me that it's best to play in my own backyard. See, commercial American cinema is where I can claim my expertise. I can kind of peek over the fence and get a rough idea what's going on in the neighbors' yards, but I'm not going to barge in there and start running my mouth like I know everything, at least until I've done some extensive research. That means if you are in one of those neighboring yards and want to tell me about something I might not know about, go ahead, I'd love to hear it.
Or if you know about something in my yard that I haven't sniffed around yet, go ahead and tell me as well. But if some noob just wants to be a dick and challenge a dog in his own backyard, as if that dog doesn't have 20 years of experience, well, fair warning, I'm going to eat that noob alive. I'm going to ragdoll him. Thank you to all my non-noobular friends for watching to the end of this video. If you want to help it out, you can write a non-noobular comment below and prove you're cool once again by clicking that like button. And recently, I've been working really hard on a second edition to my first book, Screenwriting Down the Atoms. This thing's actually 11 years old, so it's due for an update. And you can actually see, just how much editing I've done just on the original copy. So, look out for that. I'm trying to get it finished and ready by the end of November so it can be ready for the holiday season. So, keep an eye out for it. And until then, I'm the Script Monk. Arrivederci.